So one thing about me is that I absolutely have a huge soft spot for the 2005 Disney film Chicken Little. It is one of the movies that I had on my little portable DVD player that I would watch on family road trips. I have really fond memories of that movie. I was like the perfect age that it was being marketed to. I was 7 years old at the time. To this day, I've watched it back more than most of my childhood movies, still enjoy it about as much as I did back then. Another thing about me is that I'm trying to spend this year honing my craft in video essays and long form content. I went to film school. I used to be great at forming a long essay and making videos and producing stuff, and I have gotten out of the habit, and I really want to hone my craft. So I'm making video essays about the nerdy, nostalgic things that I love and that have been really coming back to me as a 27-year-old. And one of those things is Chicken Little. So I set out to make a video essay about Chicken Little, and I am still planning on doing that. There's a really interesting story about the release of Chicken Little and how it was released in Disney 3D. I'm going to get to that probably in my next video. That topic has been shelved for now, because today we are going to talk about the original 1943 Disney short film, Chicken Little, that you might not know the history about. And guess what? It's okay if you don't know the history about it, because I'm going to tell you about it, and I'm going to share my opinions, and we're going to open a little bit of dialogue, hopefully, about the changes that were made from the storyboard, the pre-production stage, and we have the original storyboard to talk about, which I'm very excited to hear what you guys think about. We're going to start with the plot summary from Wikipedia for the short film that ended up getting released and is accessible to this day. The narrator introduces the audience to the locals at the local poultry farm. Cocky Locky, Henny Penny, Turkey Lurkey, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Poosey, and the titular Chicken Little, a yo-yo wielding simpleton. As the day progresses, everyone is content with their lives knowing they are well protected. Unbeknownst to them, however, hungry fox Foxy Loxy happened along, intent on catching himself a chicken dinner. But he cannot hop in and help himself on account of the high fence, locked gates, and a well-armed farmer. Nevertheless, Foxy Loxy is cunning, so taking advice from his psychology manual, he states, "Why should I just get one when I could get 'em all?" He reads aloud a passage telling him that the best way to manipulate the whole flock is to begin with the, quote, least intelligent. He soon identifies Chicken Little as such. Next, Foxy Loxy finds a passage that instructs him to tell a big lie. He finds a wooden sign that advertises a fortune teller's business and breaks off a piece with a star painted on it. Chicken Little was milling about when Foxy Loxy disorients him with the suggestion of a thunderstorm before dropping the hunk of wood on his head. Then, pretending to be, quote, the voice of doom, Foxy Loxy convinces Chicken Little that the sky is falling and that he must run for his life. Chicken Little panics, going on to alarm the rest of the avians. He brings a crowd to where he believes a piece of the sky had hit him, but when the leader of the flock, Cocky Locky, inquires about the ordeal, he immediately proves the story to be false, much to Foxy Loxy's chagrin. Afterwards, the crowd disperses, leaving Chicken Little humiliated. Foxy Loxy is undeterred, however, so refers to his book again to find something to deal with Cocky Locky. Soon enough, he finds a passage that tells him to, quote, undermine the faith of the masses and their leaders. He heads over to Henny Pennies, Turkey Lurkeys, and Ducky Luckies, and Goosey Poosies, circles of friends, to plant rumors and doubts about Cocky Locky's intelligence and leadership. This starts another rush of panic among the avians as they spread the word. Eventually, these rumors reach Cocky Locky, who now feels his authority is threatened. With Cocky Locky's leadership in question, Foxy Loxy makes his next move. He flatters Chicken Little, convincing him to stand up and challenge the Cocky Locky's right of leadership. Filled with confidence, Chicken Little announces to a crowd that he is their new leader and states that he will save all of their lives. Then Cocky Locky fires back, stating the sky is not falling. The two argue while Cocky Locky states, quote, if the sky is falling, why doesn't it hit me on the head? From his hiding spot, Foxy Loxy uses his slingshot to shoot the wooden hunk back at Cocky Locky's head, knocking him out. This convinced the entire crowd that Chicken Little was right about the sky all along. When they ask him what they should do, Foxy Loxy suggests to, quote, run to the cave. Believing this is the right thing to do, Chicken Little leads the panicked masses out of the farm, through the woods and into the cave, which is actually Foxy Loxy's den. Once everyone is inside, Foxy Loxy goes in after them and seals up the entrance. While the narrator reassures the audience that everything will be alright, the cartoon closes with a now pot-bellied Foxy Loxy picking his teeth and arranging the wishbones of the devoured birds in a row, resembling a war cemetery. The narrator is shocked and insists this is not how the story was supposed to end. Foxy Loxy responds in a fourth wall breaking moment by reminding the narrator not to believe everything he reads as he plays with Chicken Little's yo-yo and smokes a victory cigar while laying on top of the psychology book. According to Disney historian David Gerstein, the studio had the title of the book that Foxy Loxy reads changed from Hitler's Mein Kampf to the generic Psychology in a post-war reissue. Most of the information that I'm pulling for this video comes from a blog by Andreas Deja. There is a great blog post that has a ton of the character references and even the entire storyboard, so absolute credit to this blog. It was posted in 2013. On the storyboard, there are subtitles below the pictures, and I feel like the term storyboard is pretty well known, and I don't necessarily have to explain it, but I'm going to very quickly just in case. The official definition from Wikipedia, just to keep things very straightforward, a storyboard is a graphic organizer that consists of simple illustrations or images displayed in sequence for the purpose of pre-visualizing a motion picture, animation, motion graphic, or interactive media sequence. So basically, it is just examples of the frames and the setups that they are going to use in the film. And we have the storyboards for the Chicken Little 1943 film, so we're going to go over that and we're going to look at the frames and we're going to see the subtitles underneath. So the first one is just the title card, Walt Disney's Chicken Little 1943, and underneath it says, "This is the inside story of Chicken Little who thought the sky was falling." And next we have a picture of the barnyard community area. And underneath it says, "It happened in a farmyard, well protected from chicken fancying foxes." And next we have a picture of the fox reading the original book that was supposed to be featured in the film, Mein Kampf. And underneath it says, "But Foxy Loxy was too smart to starve. He read the Bible of all boogeymen." Again, this is Mein Kampf. Next, we have a little picture of Chicken Little. He's very cute. He's playing with his little yo-yo. Chicken Little, a famed yo-yo champ, looked like what Mein Kampf ordered. And then we have a shot of Foxy Loxy looking over the fence. And underneath, the subtitle says, "He looked, quote, der stupidest of the barnyard clan." So Foxy Loxy went to work. Next, we have a picture of Chicken Little with his head being hit, and Foxy whispering to him, "This is the voice of doom. Flash, the sky is falling. A piece just hit you." And next we have Chicken Little telling the members of his community, quote, "Run," Chicken Little cried. "I will save you. I am your new leader." Next we have the chickens rushing out of the barn, and underneath it states, "And so the chickens, panic-stricken, fled out of their cozy farmyard." Next, we have a shot of, quote, "sky shelter," which is just a little cave, saying underneath, "Right into Foxy Loxy's lair, marked sky shelter, as Mein Kampf ordered." So again, there are very direct and specific references to the Nazis and Mein Kampf that are later generalized and removed, which there's an interesting little quote in the blog post that this is coming from that I will share in a minute after I finish reading the storyboard. Next, we have a pretty gruesome image stating, "Wait a minute, that's not the way this story ends in all the fairy tale books." And then we have a shot of Foxy Loxy again reading Mein Kampf and using the yo-yo that Chicken Little had earlier. Actually, the yo-yo is a different color, which is interesting. I don't know. I guess Chicken Little had more than one yo-yo, because in the first frame he has an orange yo-yo, in the second frame it is a blue yo-yo. Maybe it was too much orange because Foxy Loxy is orange, Mein Kampf is orange, and then the yo-yo would have been orange. I don't know, that's off topic. But Foxy Loxy, full of chicken, says, quote, "That's how it ends in Mein Kampf." Very dark, honestly. Produced as a propaganda short during World War II, warning audiences not to believe anti-American propaganda. Originally, the film was to have had more direct references to the war. Foxy Loxy would have read from Mein Kampf, and the chicken's grave would have been marked by swastikas. But Walt Disney decided to keep the film generic so that it would not become dated after the war. Which, Okay, maybe. This is definitely a good move for like longevity and being more of a universal message, but I do think it kind of washes out the specific intention of the film and kind of takes the responsibility away from the specific villains that were being critiqued and warned against in the original film. I guess I do think that there is a side of it that is great, that this can be applied to many different situations, but also people can draw the conclusion that just because this film is about a very specific situation, just because this film is about Mein Kampf and the Nazis, doesn't mean that you can't still apply it to other situations. And I don't think that everything has to be kind of generalized and watered down. It just feels like, and I shouldn't expect something different out of a company that is looking to make profits and historically has prioritized profits over the impact that their films could be making. In my opinion, in this case, for the 1943 Chicken Little film, they chose profit and longevity and palatability over impact and telling an important, real, historical story, and really representing a specific time in history and a specific evil. It softens the reality of what happened. It's like, no, there are very specific people that have very specific viewpoints and very specific vendettas and like issues with specific kinds of people, saying that it's just like a manipulative person taking advantage of weakness and lying takes away from the specific ways in which the groups that are being marginalized and attacked and killed are being marginalized and attacked and killed for who they are. Not just because they're weak, not just because they're there, not just because the fox is naturally bad and just looking for an opportunity. It turns into like, don't let your big brother lie to you in order to get an extra piece of candy, instead of like, hey, the Nazis very specifically did these horrible things, and we need to remember and we need to recognize the tactics that Nazis specifically use, which culturally relevant today. It turns the motivations of Foxy Loxy from being a direct, like, political, genocidal approach to Foxy Loxy was just taking advantage of the dumb, like, stupid little guys that were there. They were just stupid and vulnerable and just in a little farm, at the little farm. I'm very curious to see how people disagree with me. I'm sure there are going to be people that disagree with me. I disagree with me on certain levels. Like, I think there is absolutely value in being a bit more general and not being so, like, in your face and harsh, I guess is maybe a word to say it. But sometimes reality is harsh. Like, the things that happened that this story is based on, originally based on anyway, before it got changed, are harsh. That's reality. That's history. I'm trying to wrap this up quickly because I don't want this to be too long of a video, but it just, to me, the final version of the 1943 short Chicken Little really kind of puts the blame on the chickens for being vulnerable and stupid instead of the specific tactics that Foxy Loxy is using against them. I just think that specificity does not negate relatability, and generalizing things and watering them down doesn't make them necessarily more widely relatable. And I think that this Chicken Little 1943 film, from the storyboard to the final product, is a very interesting kind of case study in that. And this is not the approach that I was expecting to go with the Chicken Little video. I actually should have another Chicken Little video coming out at some point soon because I had a completely different approach to this, and then I found all of this information and fell down a rabbit hole and got really inspired and honestly recorded this off the cuff in a way that I did not do for my last video, but it ended up actually working out and being a little bit less daunting. So I learned a little something from just kind of jumping into the topic in a different way than I was expecting to. I might just be in my long-form Chicken Little era. If you know me at all, I love Chicken Little, so it's not surprising that I'd want to be talking about Chicken Little, and the idea that I get to talk about Chicken Little and learn more about it and just like spend hours deep diving about Chicken Little, honestly, really excites me. So stay tuned, I guess. Okay. Thank you so much. I think that's the end of this video. I just wanted to share a little bit about the history of the 1943 original Chicken Little film and how it changed from the storyboard to the release and my opinions on it, I guess. I definitely want to hear your opinions on it in the comments. Leave those below. I'm very open to discussion as long as you're respectful. I'm expecting some people to disagree with me. I kind of disagree with me on certain points, but I think it's a very interesting discussion. Again, please be respectful, please be nice. I am not going to answer if you're going to be mean. I know that this is a very sensitive topic and unfortunately pretty relevant to the things that are happening these days in the world. As a quick conclusion, I feel like it was really interesting to get into the history of Chicken Little in particular. Disney tends to pull from existing stories and IPs that they have the rights to, so there's always a little bit more of a backstory to whatever's on the surface. Let me know in the comments what your opinions are about the 1943 Chicken Little, the storyboards, and the 2005 Chicken Little, which we still have to talk about. And since this topic was a little bit of a downer and a little bit intense at times, I'm going to end this with a few fun Chicken Little facts about the 2005 movie that I might end up featuring in my next video, but I just wanted to go ahead and share them now because I need a little bit of fun, I need a little bit of whimsy at the end of this video. We are going to go ahead and cut to the credits time, the goodbye time, while I talk about a few fun Chicken Little facts. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments, and please subscribe if this sort of content is your sort of thing. I had fun making this, I hope you had fun watching this. Let's get to the Chicken Little facts. Chicken Little fact number 1. Editor Dan Molina performed the quote, voice of fish out of water by vocalizing through a tube into a water cooler tank full of water. Fact number 2, this was the last Walt Disney Animation Studios movie to be released on VHS. I don't own this on VHS yet. I would absolutely love to own it. If you happen to have it and want it off your hands, I would definitely take that off your hands. Otherwise, I will be keeping an eye out while I'm thrifting. And the final Chicken Little fun fact that I'm going to include in this video is that the film Chicken Little was dedicated to the memory of Joe Grant, who lived from 1908 to 2005. And you know what? Shout out to Joe Grant, this video is dedicated to you too.